What's up, guys? Hitalks here, back with another Keegan and Martin's Hitalks. Today, me and Keegan are finally back together in person. He's back down south. We're going to be spending a lot of time together in the coming future, and we're going to be pre-producing a lot of videos for you guys. This one is going to be a banger. Enjoy.
So, starting off, we're going to tell you guys about a certain time in our life where we kind of took some magic mushrooms, guys. You want to start off the story?
Yeah, I think I'll preface it saying that before this big trip, I guess this was definitely me and you's first big trip, right? But before this, we did take mushrooms. I took I believe it was probably a gram at my first time, which I consider almost like a microdose compared to what we took this time, and it was definitely a much lighter trip, and it was just an entirely different experience. But we did have a little bit of experience with the substance before we dove too deep in, which is what I recommend to you guys. Don't take an insane amount of any substance, no matter what it is, even weed or tobacco, until you try a small amount first, just to be safe. So, I also, that's a story for another day, definitely. But also, we'll probably be talking about him if we're talking about this story. There's another one of our homies, one of our tightest homies. We'll call him Josh for this video. He's about Keegan's age, and he also was down here for the summer, last summer, which is when this took place. And he's one of Keegan's tightest homies. He introduced me to him, and we hit it off very well. We got along very well. And this shroom trip actually is one of the reasons that we get along very well. It kind of brought us out of our shell and made us get along better. So, I guess we should talk about how we got the shrooms in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess before we get into when we actually took them, the way we were able to get these, we were hanging out in town, just the three of us. We were, smoking on some cigarettes. We just bought a vape, just bought a couple packs, just chilling. I think we grabbed some McDonald's and just hung out downtown and chilled. And then we ended up being contacted by one of our friends, one of Keegan's, or I guess both of our friends, but originally I was also introduced to him by Keegan. He lives down here, though. He told us, he hit us up on text and said, yo, you trying to pull through? Me and my homie got some weed. Maybe we could sell you some shrooms, you down? And we were like, for sure, where you trying to meet? And so we ended up meeting by this track, and as it turned out, Keegan's friend actually ended up getting busy. I think he might have had a job to do, with some yard work, as is usual. He's a busy man. That's how he's able to keep up his drug habits. He's a very responsible man. I respect him. So his friend ended up being the only one that came through. And though we did have to wait a while, it allowed us to be able to, get all the money together. And I think we ended up spending, was it $100 even?
I think it was somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, so no matter how much it was, that gives you a rough idea of just how much we were able to purchase.
We spent $60.
$60?
Yeah.
Okay, so 60 even, which was a great deal for the quantity that we were allotted. So we were able to pick this up, and then I think we had to sit on it for an hour in town. Not really, just with fuck shit to do. And then we ended up getting a ride back into the resort that we live at. And that's when the hoot and holler started. We were staying at this cabin, as I've told you about many other times. There are many cabins at this resort that we own. And this night we were staying in one of them with our friend Josh. And with the $60 worth of shrooms, the vape, did we have two vapes? We had two vapes from the gas station and two packs of cigarettes. Our night was very, 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 it had a very optimistic look on it. And let me tell you, it ended up being very, very optimistic. So how about we tell them how the night started?
So, well, we wanted to get stuff kicked off, right? So we were debating, who got the biggest dose, comparatively to what the other doses were. They were all pretty much the same, but there were some slightly different, doses.
Just based off size.
Yeah, it's based off size, but I ended up getting the biggest dose out of everyone, which definitely proved to be the biggest dose out of everybody. And we'll definitely get into that later, but for now, let's start off with when we were starting our trip, I guess, and what we were doing. So
I think we took them at 9:30. I remember that time.
ish, yeah. Somewhere around 9:30, 10. So we take them around 9:30, 10.
Mix them with a pizza.
Around there, yeah. We all had a couple pieces of pizza, but we did save quite a bit for later, just because, just in case we got hungry or whatever. But, so we take them, we're out on our porch, just hanging out, talking, chatting it up. And we, we're just smoking our cigs, vaping, whatever we were doing. I remember vividly we didn't have any weed this night. We all kind of complained that we didn't, which I feel like it might have made the night better, but it was still a great night either way. But, so, kind of getting off track here. So, we take him around 9:30. We, like I said, we're hanging out, smoking cigarettes, whatever. And the thing that started it all was we're just hanging out. It's like an awkward silence. It's like 3 minutes no one talked. And I'm just hanging out, I'm starting to feel the come up, definitely. I'm feeling uplifted. I'm feeling euphoric. Just the normal shroom, feelings, And didn't get any visuals at this point yet, but we're just hanging out, chatting it up, like I said. And there's like the center table we had our drinks and stuff on. And I ask everybody, why the fuck is the center table moving?
I remember that vividly. We did not stop laughing.
No, we didn't stop laughing that entire night.
No, that made us laugh just the entire night. Everything. Wow, like everything we did after that just was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that really was like the milestone in the night that everyone was, well, we're fucking tripping, bro. Like we're off our rockers. I think it's a little overpacked.
Yeah, it's close.
So after the table incident, I think the next thing was another table incident involving me, wasn't it? Or was it the fetal position?
I don't know.
I think the fetal position came after. Alright, so after that incident that really kicked off the trip, everyone, I think we can all collectively say that we that enhanced it a little bit. We really started to feel the come up heavier after that, just laughing, and we started to put on some music, just sipping on some bevies. I can't remember what we had. I think it might have just been some Milo's Sweet Tea, as per usual. One of our favorite drinks, if not our favorite.
Our go-to.
Definitely. Our number one, just everyday kind of drink. I love it. Just grab the gallons, guys. It's amazing. It's
truly
worth it. It's beautiful. Mix it in with some ice. You can have it anywhere, anytime. Greatest drink known to man.
Good
and so
too.
we were, great mixer, great chaser. I mean, just perfect. Just everything. Everything about it is just makes me horny. So, speaking of which, you don't have any bevs, huh?
We do not.
Damn. Well, an L for us, no bevs today, but if you guys have some bevs listening at home, then don't be afraid to take a drink and drop your bevy in the comments. And so we sat around laughing, listening to music, just talking, enjoying the trip, really noticing the different enhancements for a minute. And then I believe you were the first one to leave the porch. And I think the only sentence you said to me and Josh, which kind of freaked us out, was, "I need a cigarette." And then Keegan proceeded to storm out of the porch and just walked into the darkness, which I could not have had the balls to do, seeing as I was tripping. That would have made me just go berserk. I mean, just go into hell. So I'm not sure exactly what Keegan did, but from me and Josh's perspective, he just said he needed a cigarette, he dipped, and then we were worried about him, thought he might be having a bad trip, but he came back and probably 20, 30 minutes later, and the trip just resumed. I mean, just the way it left off. But I'm interested to see what was your mental during that 30 minutes? What the fuck was happening?
Well, so as I was leaving, I was having a big mental, I don't know, it's not a break, but I would say it was like a awakening, I guess. It was more of like that mental feeling. If you've ever done shrooms, that mental feeling that you get is kind of like I'm doing like something wrong. I'm disappointing people. It's bad negative thoughts because it's bringing out things that you never knew that you had.
Hold up, our audience. We have an important phone call coming in. My apologies. We continue with the high talk. So, where were we? I believe you were yapping.
Wow. So I leave the porch. I'm overcome with all these mental feelings that kind of just made me want to go on a walk and clear my head, which did not work. Did not work in the slightest. It made me trip even harder, to be completely honest with you. Um, so I'm walking down our little path down to where we can park our cars at the base of the cabin, and I get to where we had a golf cart. I get to where we had our golf cart parked. Um, well, that's kind of a little bit later. So it was an overcast night. It was pretty stormy ish. It was pretty humid out, rainy. Uh, so I go to the base of where our cabin starts from our driveway to where it meets to the road. And I was looking up at the sky, completely overwhelmed by the storm clouds and the wind, and just the whole craziness of the situation. And at this point, I am tripping fucking balls. Like, I don't think I could have. Well, I definitely could have been tripping a lot harder, but I was definitely uh, not sober at this point in time. And so after that, after looking up at the sky for around 10-ish minutes, just ripping on my cigarette, I sparked another cigarette while I was standing there. Um, so after I'm done with that, I go sit down on the golf cart and put my head on the steering wheel, closing my eyes, and I just see all these visuals. I see circles, triangles, I see all these shapes, and it's crazy. Like at this point, this is the only time I'd really done shrooms, and it was a pretty good dose for a beginner. My guess is what, like 2.5?
I think definitely for you.
At least 2.5 grams. And so it was a pretty good dose for a beginner. And I'm just sitting there with my head down on my steering wheel, just tripping dick. And that was around 20-ish, 15, 20 minutes that I was just sitting there, just thinking, just tripping balls. And at this point, I come back to the cabin, the screen door that we're all sitting on the porch, and they can just tell that I'm tripping, and I
Your
can
eyes
tell,
were dilated
and
insanely.
and I can definitely tell that they are tripping. And why don't you kind of take it off from there?
All right,
'Cause,
so
you have some funny parts too.
I guess when Keegan came back, we could definitely tell he was tripping. I suppose he could also tell me and Josh had leveled up our trip quite a bit. We were really just talking about fuck shit, asking if we thought Keegan was okay, and then just chilling back. Just really letting the trip take us, just coming up. And then when Keegan got back, he kind of once again shot the trip up. We put some music back on and just vibed out. And then I think when the peak really hit, probably about an hour and a half after we took the shrooms, so about 11 o'clock. And then shit really just hit the fan from there.
Yeah.
Shit just got really fun, really idiotic. I think the first thing that really just like jump started the idiocracy, we were all three hanging out just on these steps that were just connected to the porch, just a typical porch setup. We were just by this one of the top steps leading up to the porch, just smoking fire, or I mean smoking a volume of cigarettes, just an insane amount of cigarettes. Heaps, yes, very good word. We were smoking heaps of cigarettes because we did have heaps of cigarettes, and what were we to lose? I mean, we might as well consume them while we're tripping.
And if you've ever tripped, and if you smoke cigarettes, you know that you can just smoke and smoke cigarettes until like.
And it's fun. Oh yeah. And so we were smoking these cigarettes, and we noticed that I think actually I was just going back to get another cigarette off of the porch, and I didn't step on a shoelace. I didn't overstep. I didn't understep. I didn't hit my foot on anything, not even the stair. I stood up. I took a step towards the table to get a cigarette, and I made the executive decision to nosedive. I thought about it, and I thought it was the best decision to nosedive. But mind you, nosedive directly into the glass table. Now, I didn't break it, very luckily, but I was showered with ash and filters and Skittles and pizza, more cigarettes, lighters, phones, a gallon of sweet tea fell on my head, and my only reaction was a laugh, as is usual when you're tripping. And I think that really just made all of us realize, okay, he just nosedived into a glass table out of his own will. We're off our bonkers. And indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we were off our fucking minds on drugs, which is basically how you want to live your life. Unless you're the audience. Me and him, we can choose to live this way. You guys, you can't. This is terrible for you. Never do it. Ever. Ever. Never, ever do this. You can't. You just can't. I mean, physically, just stop. Do not do this stuff. Only listen. Don't do it.
This is for entertainment and educational purposes.
Yes.
This is not condoned. We don't condone doing the actions
We do not.
That we've shown.
We do not recommend or condone any of the actions talked about in these hot talks. With that being said, we were tripping our fucking brains out, and I remember there was at this point not much of a timeline, but just very many high or tripping like tendencies that we had. And one of these tendencies for me was very self-destructive. I, no joke, probably about 50 times just nosedived off of the top stair of the porch. And mind you, it was probably 6 foot by like 4 feet down, 6 feet across jump, and I did it 50 times, just straight nosediving. No, just like as if there was water. As if there was water, just nosediving into the gravel headfirst many times. At the end of the night, I realized as I was coming down, my arms looked like I took a cheese grater to them, which basically I did worse. Another thing that we all did funny things, but that was one of my tendencies. Now, Keegan, you should share one of the funny, dumb shit you did.
So, what Martin kind of left out of his prior statement is when he nosedived onto that table, he took that table with him and landed onto me, causing me to fall onto the floor and have even more cigarette butts, ash, uh, pizza, all the things that we had that night was pretty much all on that little table. And it was all on me now. So, what was the logical thing to do? Get in the fucking fetal position and smoke a cigarette.
That is what we did.
Yeah.
And we put on some music, some Mac Miller, and maybe the signature, the thumbnail of our shroom trip. Listening to Mac Miller curled up like a baby. Not just curled up like a baby. Curled up like a baby, smoking a cigarette. Not just smoking a cigarette. You smoked the entire thing in like a minute without taking a break. Just you didn't even one breath cig. And you had like 5 filters on you, 2 pieces of pizza, a gallon of sweet tea, ash, Skittles. I mean, an entire full thing of Skittles. Um, I mean, just quite the picture, if you can imagine it in your head. Just curled up like a baby, and mind you, not a baby curled up like a baby. A 240-pound, 6'2", 15-year-old curled up like a baby with a cigarette and in his mouth, listening to Donald Trump by Mac Miller, curled up just next to a lawn chair, also against the wall of a cabin with God knows what just splattered across his body. One of my favorite memories ever. And then I believe after that, Josh had a moment of his own when he broke one of our lawn chairs.
He was putting his body in such a weird position that the lawn chair just couldn't handle the retardedness and broke.
It was like he was playing Twister by himself.
Pretty much. And another thing to mention, while I was in that fetal position, I was looking at the wall, and I saw some bugs on the wall. So what was another logical thing to do? Grab the bugs and put the cigarettes out on them.
I think very reasonable decision to do so. And we made the executive orders to murder the bug kind.
We did?
With cigarettes. I think possibly a smart choice. So, not only did Josh break a chair, not only did Keegan curl up like a baby with a cigarette in mouth and 5 on his torso. Not only did he murder 20 bugs on the wall, not only did I nosedive 50 times into the gravel, not only did I nosedive into a table, not only did Keegan go and secretly jerk off on a golf cart while tripping balls in the pure pitch black, smoking 5 cigarettes in 2 minutes.
I was definitely jerking off, that's for sure.
We know you, Keegan. We know you. You cannot hide. You cannot hide. You've been caught, just like Drake.
My fault.
They not like us. They not like us. Are you trying to strike a chord? That shit's probably a minor pedophile. Keegan do be a certified pedophile. So the pedophile was jerking his Drake snake in the pitch black. I was nosediving off of porches, and Josh was breaking our lawn chairs by playing Twister with himself. Were there any other wild... I think the come down was another experience in itself, because an interesting thing about it was, though Keegan had a higher peak, I think me and Josh both definitely tripped for a longer amount of time. Like when he was almost came down already, we were still basically at the peak, which wasn't as much as his peak, but it was just lasting longer. So we ended up smoking some swishers, just laying on the gravel. We're just staring up at the stars, enjoying the last bit of our trip. And then this trip also, funnily enough, caused me to miss church in the morning, which I was dreading the entire night. And then I just ended up oversleeping because we stayed up until 9 a.m. And church was out. I had to leave for church 9. And so I just went to bed instead of going to church. And then I got yelled at by 10 different people. for not going. Which was it was a maybe the one blotch in the trip, but I mean, who really cares now? No harm done. And I think overall it was a very very successful shroom trip, a fond memory, one we'll look back on for the rest of our life. Just a monument. Our first shroom trip, really, our first big shroom trip together. One of the moments that kicked off not only me and Josh, but really tightened up me and Keegan's friendship. Just a monumental night, a beautiful night with some beautiful people and some beautiful substances. And I'm glad I was able to share some of these memories and some of these shenanigans that we got up to last summer with you guys. And don't you fret, me and Keegan shall be up to very many shenanigans this summer. And you will have very, very many videos to watch about those shenanigans. So look forward to that. Stay stoned, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and you guys have a great one.
Peace.
Peace.